Let's go to the prompt flow. So we are in our hub. So this is our hub, the Lab-4 hub, right? So from the pane here, in build and customize, we will select the prompt flow. As you can see, this is only available in hub. If we go to our Lab 1 project, then in this pane you cannot see prompt flow. But if we go to the hub, we can see prompt flow also. So yeah, so we will click on the prompt flow and then we will click on create. And afterwards it is asking to us which type of flow you want. So we will be working with the chat flow. So on top of the standard flow, what is the more features of the chat flow is that it provides the option for chat history support and a user-friendly chat interface for debugging, right? So this is what chat flow provides. We also have evaluation flow. So evaluation flow is to measure how well your output matches to expected criteria and goals. And standard flow is the standard one, right? The basic one. So we have to go to the build and customize, then select prompt flow, then select chat flow template, and we will specify the name as travel chat because we are creating a travel, prompt flow. So we will create chat flow and what we want the folder name. So the flow code files are stored in a specific folder. So these flow code files will be stored in a specific folder within your workspace file share storage. So in my workspace file share storage, the flow code files will be stored in a specific folder and I have to name that folder. The folder name can be customized according to your preference. So let's see. So location to store flow will be in user sitsam and prompt flow. So let's see what we want to name our folder. So we have to name our folder as travel chat. So let's copy this and paste it here. So this is travel chat. So now we will click on create. Also, let me take a screenshot of this. Okay. So now we will click on create. So afterward, what we have to do after this has been created, we need to use the compute, but we will first see the other parameters. So it will take some time, I guess. Yeah. So while deploying the resource, so while deploying this flow, I had this error which is cloud dependency permission. So it says that if the resource was recently created, wait 10 minutes for role assignments to propagate, right? Because my resource was recently created and I did not give enough time for role assignments to propagate. So that's why this error happens. So now I will create it from a, so now I will create it again. So again, let's go to prompt flow, click on create, then click on chat flow, and now we will change the folder name. So they have also put a tip here, like if a permission error occurs, wait a few minutes and try again. Specify a different flow name if necessary. So we will do that. We will specify a different flow name because now if I put this flow name here, so it says folder name already exists. So we will just do travel chat 1, and now let's try again, and now let's click on create, and hopefully now it will be created. Yeah, so my hopes are getting up. So yeah, so we have created this prompt flow, and now we can see in inputs there are two inputs. One is for chat history, which is chat history tag, and then another is a question which is of string type, and then we have answer which is chat dot output, right? The value of this, and this is basically our chat. So you can see this is our chat component in the flow. This is output component, and you know, and this is the input one. So this is all the things, and in this chat also, let's see what we have to do next. So we will start the compute session later. So in the prompts, which consist of series of input, outputs, and tools, you can expand and edit the properties of these objects. So the properties of these objects can be edited here, right? for the input output and for the input output and the chat. So let's look more closely on different tools. So first of all, I want you to notice that we haven't started our compute session. So when you click on more tools here, it says start compute session to enable the action. So that's why we cannot, click on more tools. We can click on more tools when we have started the compute session and our compute session is running. Similarly, you can see here for the chat, right? We have different configurations here. So like for the input, we have a variable question, which is of type string, and chat history, which has a chat history tag. And then for output, so we have a variable called answer, right? And the value of it is chat dot output. So what do you mean by chat dot output? So chat, as you can see, the name of this is chat. We can also give it some another name. Let's say chat1. So if we click this and put it as chat1, then here we will have to put chat1 dot output, right? Not chat output. So it basically is this, right? Chat and its output. So that is how we represent the value of, you know. So we have to put it here chat dot output, right? So it is this chat dot output, right? If it was some another tool, then it would be like that dot output. So this is how we define the output. And for the input, we have the different variables like chat history, question, and string. So this is for the input. So let's minimize this input and output, and let's focus on our chat tool. So in chat tool, we have different options. So first of all, we have options for inputs. So for inputs, we have this question variable with which is of type string, and its value is inputs dot question. So why it's inputs dot question? Because this is inputs, and in inputs there is a variable question. So that's why it has inputs dot question. So the value of inputs dot question will be the value of this variable question. So wherever we used in this prompt, wherever we use question, so that would mean the value of inputs dot question, right? Similarly, that's inputs dot chat history. So this is the input node, right? Inputs node. So in inputs node, we have a variable called chat history. So that chat history inputs dot chat history value will be assigned to this chat history variable. So wherever we use chat history, so that value will be replaced with it, right? And all of this in this all of this flows, in prompts we can use JINJA template. So JINJA template is basically when you define the your variables in this double curly braces and your for loops in this curly braces percentage sign and for. So if you have used Django, then you might know like JINJA templating, and like in other languages also, if you have been doing web development, then JINJA templating is just a language so that you can insert the values of these variables in here, right? So for here it's saying your system prompt, right? And this is like user prompt, and like this is the assistant, and this is again user, right? So this is how things are working. If you want to add our own tools, so like this is the pre-configured configuration, like this the graph is the one which is already created for us, right? We could delete this or create our own graph with our own tools. So if we click on LLM, so if we insert an LLM tool, we give it a name. So let's give it a name chat2, right? And let's add it. So you will observe this chat2 is added, and we can write a prompt here also, and we can use JINJA templating here also. So like we can just use question. So this is a question. So when we click on validate and parse input, so this function is not enabled because I haven't started my compute session. So that is why it is essential to start your compute session so that you can access this. I can start it also, like I will start in some time. So when you click on validate and parse input, so the question will come here like this. This will be the name of the question. This will be the string, right? And this will be the value of it. So that's how we know, these are the variables. So these variables will automatically be put in these inputs. So that's why validate and parse input just makes life easy, right? Because when we click on this, it is already automatically populated with this. What are the variable names which you are using in prompt? What are their types and what are their values? So you don't have to do that, right? So right now we cannot do because we have to start a compute session for that, and also we have to connect it. So we have to connect this with our LLM, right? Besides that, you can also observe this feature of show variants. We are not using this feature right now, but show variants is basically for your node. You can have different variants. Variants means like you have different versions for it. So you might want to switch it to a different version to test your flow, right? You want to test the flow with a different version, with a different node, different version of this node. So there you can uh, use the variant. So right now we only have one variant. There is also a capability to generate variants, so automatically generate more prompt variations with language model. So this is in preview right now. We can use that also, right? So besides that, we have added this. We can add it, other tools also. So like this is a chat tool. We can add another tools also. So let's delete this one. We can add prompt tool also. So in prompt tool, we just give name to the prompt tool, just leave anything, prompt 3, right? Here we can type the prompt and all the inputs with JINJA templating, right? All of this can be done here. Besides that, there is also one more, the Python tool. So in Python tool, we can just okay, write file, Python file, right? So if we add it here, so it has automatically generated some of these things. So from prompt flow import tool, so it has already imported something. And so whatever the input will be, it will just append hello. So this is the code that they have given us. We can change this and do our own thing. So here you can type inputs. So like if I want inputs.chat history, so if I want from chat history to go to this file Python, so I can directly go this, or inputs.question directly go into file Python. So I can do that also. Even the chat.output, I can use that also. So let's do inputs.question. So you will observe this, see this graphs. So inputs.question will be sent to this file Python, right? Or we can do another thing also, not inputs.question instead, but we can do chat.output. So chat.output, right? Okay, let's delete this. So we can do this in different ways. We can use different things. So let's look at this chat. So in chat, it is taking it from chat history. So our chat history is basically inputs.chat history. So the chat history from the inputs, that is the value of our chat history. So it is basically looping on the chat history one by one, because chat history is a list. So you can see this is a type of a list. So and then on each list we are getting an input, and in input we are getting a question, and inputs dot question and outputs dot answer, right? So for each item we are getting, we are fetching the question and we are fetching the answer of it, right? Because you can see the answer is for the output, right? And the question is for the input. So that's what we are saying here. We are saying inputs dot question and outputs dot answer, right? So for each item we are doing that, and we are putting it in user assistant. So we are basically sending the whole chat history in this way, and then in the last we are putting the current question of the user. So now the assistant has to reply. So this is how system prompt is generated. So in this system prompt, we have the chat history. So this is our chat history. This is our question, and this will be a system prompt. So let's see what is in the system prompt. So they have told us that you have to put this system prompt. So I will be putting this. So let's copy this. So in this system prompt, they have tell the objective. So you assist user with travel related queries, offer tips, advice, recommendation. Then it specifies what are the capabilities. So what are the capabilities of LLM. It gives like up to date travel information, and you can read it. And then there are instructions also, what instructions it has to follow. So all of this can be put into the system prompt. So let's copy this and let's put this in the system prompt. So here we put it that in the system prompt, and then there are like history and then the question. So let's minimize this. And now what is the next thing that we have to do when we have added the modified the prompt? Yeah, this thing we have to do in chat LLM tool pane. For connection, select the connection for Azure OpenAI service resource in your AI hub. So if we go to this connection, we can see we have a connection Lab-1 res EO AI, right? So we select this one, right? So where are we getting this from? So let's go to our Azure AI Foundry. Okay, so let's go to Microsoft Azure, right? And then the subscription, this one. So we are getting this Lab-1 res from here because it is an AI Foundry, and that in that AI Foundry we have the model deployed. So that's why it's here Lab-1 res EOI. Then the API, what kind of API we want? We are doing chat. We are not using just a completion. So that's why we will select chat API. Then deployment name. So what will be the deployment name? So we have GPT-4o Mini Lab 1, right? That is a deployment name. I can also open the AI Foundry um, in a different tab. So you can see here in Lab 4 we have this deployment name as, if we go to models and endpoints, then we will have a deployment name as GPT-4o Mini Lab 1. So that is being shown here also, GPT-4o Mini Lab 1, right? So this is the temperature, that what kind of temperature we want. Then this is a stop, and these are the max tokens. So it's specifying 256. We can specify it to 500 also, right? It is the max output tokens which which is allowed. So 500 tokens will be the max tokens, right? Then the response format, we are good with text, right? And then advanced, we can do advanced things here also. It also has the option for function calling, but we are not using it here. Then this is the prompt, and this is the input. So we have already validated and parsed input, and then there are much more options, right? So let's make it right. So this is the whole process. So now we have modified the prompt, and now also they are saying that in input section of chat LLM tool, verify this, that you have the following variables: question whose value is inputs dot question, and chat history whose value is inputs dot chat history. And we can verify that in question we have inputs dot we have question variable which has input dot question value, and chat history which has input dot chat history, right? So the next step is we have to save the changes to the flow, right? So let's save the changes to the flow. Okay, save. So this will save the changes to the flow. And the next thing what we have to do is we have to basically start our compute session. So let's also start our compute session. So it's now starting, and let's wait until the compute session has started. So now our compute session is running. So if we now click on more tools, we have another tools like embedding, open model LLM, SERP API, index lookup, and we have a various more tools, right? And now if we click on plus LLM, right, if we add more LLMs, and if we click on this as you know chat 2 chat 2 and add it, then you can see uh, let's add some input. So let's say we are adding this inputs dot question, right? So we want the inputs dot question here. Yeah, so we will get the same questions here. So if you want to validate, we can't validate this button. Okay, so we can, because now the things have been changed and computer session is running. So what it does, you can see like we just put it in here inputs dot question, and automatically just populate it with input string and what should be the value of this. So it has taken the inputs dot string. So let's set variable to something else. Let's say um, question 2, right? And let's validate this one. So it will put the name and the type of the variable. So question and string this, and now we have to decide what should be the value. So now let's decide what should be the value. So this value should be the inputs dot question or chat dot output. Let's say we want chat dot output, right? So from the chat dot output we also get chat 2, right? So this is how this thing can work, and this is how this things connect, right? So we are not using this in our case, but yeah, this is how things will work. Now we can delete it. We can also add a prompt one and just name it prompt 2, add it, right? Here also you can just you know what you can do is you can get the question from the input. So we in input we have two variables, question and chat, right? So here we have two variables, input question and chat history. So we can get the chat history. So let's say we name our variable history, right? This history. So summarize the history, right? Something like that. And then if we validate, then it will basically parse this whole thing, and it understands that this is history and its type is string. We can put chat history here. So you can see here we have a prompt 2 which is connected to inputs, right? If we have something else here, then it will be a different thing, right? mm, yeah. So we can have chat dot output, so then it will be connected to this one, right? So this is how we are connecting our tools, and this is where we will type our prompt, and we can do much more here, right? So let's delete this step and let's just focus on what was there initially. So now we are ready with our compute also, and we have all the input output and our chat tool. So what is the next step that we have to do? So the next step they are saying is test the flow. So the next step is to test the flow. So how we will test the flow? Ensure the compute session is running. It's running. Select chat to open the chat pane. Open toolbar and select chat to open the chat pane and wait for the chat to initialize. So we have to go to the chat pane. So this is the chat pane, right? Use the chat window to run your flow in a live chat way, right? So we will use this chat window to run our flow in a live chat way. So let's click on this chat, and only default variants will be used for chat. If you want to test variants, please try evaluation, right? So now let's see. I have a 1 day in London, what should I do, right? So answer in one word or one sentence. So I have 1 day in London, what should I do? Answer in one line, right? So let's enter this. So it's validating and parsing the input. I have 1 day in London, what should I do? Answer in one line. So let's see what will be the output, and afterwards we can ask more questions also, that we just have to test the flow if it's working or not, and it's taking its time right now. So let's see after that what we have to do. We have to deploy it. For that we have to click on the deploy button. So yeah, there is the answer. It took 0.97 seconds. So in 1 day in London, explore the British Museum and stroll through Covent Garden, visit iconic Tower of London, enjoy a walk along South Bank. Okay, so this is the output, and we can just keep on questioning. So because this is a chat flow, it will remember the history also. But right now we don't want that. So let's close this, right? And we want to do is deployment. So let's click on deploy. So when we click on deploy, we want a new or existing deploy, new endpoint or existing. So you want a new endpoint, and let's name our endpoint. So enter a unique name. So what should we name our endpoint? So okay, so it should be unique because it should be unique everywhere else, right? So if I say A, then it's not unique. Yeah, it's unique. So Lab-4 A, this is the unique endpoint. Then the deployment name. So let's see. Endpoint name must be unique with lowercase letters, hyphen, numbers, and end case with lowercase letter or numbers, right? Then deployment name. Deployments are hosted within an endpoint and can receive data from clients and send. So let's keep it to Lab-4 A1 only. Then virtual machine. So I think it has already chosen the minimum one. So it's 0.10 per hour, right? So let's choose that only because that is the more economical one, and we want only one instance. So let's see standard DS3v2. Standard DS3v2, it's not DS3v2. Let's see what is DS3v2. Okay, do we have DS3v2 here? Okay, I don't think we have DS3v2 available here. We do not have enough quota for the following VMs. Okay, so we have only the quota for these VMs. So that's why we will be using these one only. And deployment name, enter a unique name. So all of this has been used. And then in advanced settings, let's see what is in advanced setting. They have told us to just go through the default settings, and then we have to just review and create. So let's review and create this. Before that, let's just click also, just take a screenshot of this, right? So enable inferencing data collection, we have to disable this thing because we do not want that, right? Let's okay, so yeah, so just review and create. So let's click on review and create, right? So this is our endpoint name, deployment name, what virtual machine and instances are there, and the output is answer a string. This is the connection. So output name is answer and it is of string type. This is the endpoint and this is the node name, right, for the connection. And we just hit on create, and then we will wait. So yeah, prompt flow deployment endpoint is in progress, creating endpoint. So that is in progress and it's creating an endpoint. So let's move to our models plus endpoint. So let's go here and let's endpoint creation failed. Okay, let's see what's the problem. Okay, so prompt flow deployment, so it's creating. Okay, Lab-4 creation failed. So let's wait for some time and let's see why it's failed. Hi guys, so let's see why we were getting the error. So we were getting this deployment error, that prompt flow deployment of the endpoint this has failed. So I tried different times. So the prompt flow deployment this for the endpoint this failed, and then I check the error message, that what this error message says. And when I go to the error message, then it basically um, tells me that your deployment is failing because your endpoint is failing, right? So that was the reason. So if we see the all error message, so here you can see that it's giving me a bad request, and it's giving me that you know the there is inferencing client call failed, and then it's giving the message this endpoint has not been created. Because the endpoint has not been created successfully or is in deleting provision state, please recreate endpoint. So it's saying to me that the deployment fails because the endpoint has not been created. Because endpoint has not been created, when it tries to do the deployment, then deployment fails. So that is why our deployment was failing. And yeah, so what should we do about it? Like we need to know why our deployment is failing. So our deployment is failing because our endpoint was not being created. And why our endpoint was not being created? So for that, what we do, we went to the activity log. So we went to our resource group. So let's see, resource group. So resource group for lab 4. And what we do was we went to activity log, and in activity log we can see all the activities. So yeah, so we can see here that there was this activity that says that creating or updating an online reference endpoint in machine learning service workspace failed. So in machine learning workspace, the creation of online inference endpoint uh, was failing. But why it was failing? Then we go to this summary, and in this summary there is a message: the resource operation completed with terminal provisioning state failed, right? So this was the resource operation failure. Now when we go to the JSON, and when we go down and down, and here we can see the status message that of failure, that resource operation completed with terminal provisioning state. Then there is another message also that resource provider isn't registered with the subscription. So it is saying that some resource provider is not registered with the subscription, and here it is telling the entity. So it is telling Microsoft machine learning services. So this resource provider is not registered. So we have to register this resource provider, because if this resource provider is not registered, then our Azure cannot create the resources related to this resource provider. So that was the issue. So let's see how we can fix that issue. So to fix that issue, what we did was we went to the subscription, and we basically registered our resource provider. So this was not registered initially, right? But now it's registered. So you can see there are a lot of resource providers which are, this Astronoma Astro is not registered. So to register it, we can click on register, right? So the machine learning one was not registered. That's why there was a problem. So how did we come to the space? So we went to our subscription, Azure subscription one. So this is the subscription. And in that we go to the setting, and in the settings we went to the resource providers. So when we went to the resource provider, then we can, go and search for which resource provider we want to register. Like Microsoft Billing is registered, Cloud Shell is registered, Commerce is registered. Some of these resource providers are not registered. So machine learning one was not registered. So if we see this one was not registered. So that was the problem. So now the problem has been solved. So let's try to deploy again. So for that we will again go to our the flow. So we are in our prompt flow, and then we will click on this travel chat one. So that is our flow, and then we will try to deploy it again. So to deploy it again, we will again start the compute session. So let it load completely. So yeah, this is our prompt flow that we created. So now let's start the compute session again, and then deploy it.